Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in to the interview segment on the role of AI in modernizing events. Our distinguished guest today is Deanna Varga, who is the CEO and founder of Maven Global. Deanna is a business events and tourism professional with over 25 years of experience working within the MICE sector. Today, Deanna is joining us really to unpack some of the ways AI can be used to modernize events with the focus on revenue diversification pathways for the same. Deanna, welcome and thank you for being with us.
Hi, Keerat. Great to be here. Very excited to be talking to your listeners today.
Wonderful. So let's dive right into it. Let's start with the first question. And I wanted to start off by understanding, according to you, how has AI transformed the landscape of event planning and management in the recent year?
That's a really interesting question because certainly we're seeing lots of statistics about how AI has transformed since ChatGPT launched last year in November. But actually, AI has been used through events and through a lot that we do for many years. And as I was preparing for today, one of the things that I recalled was IBM Watson, which is a tool that has been around for quite a long time and was developed by IBM with analytics and algorithms. And so it's really interesting that all of a sudden ChatGPT and other products like Project Spark have started to help AI become common for everybody. And so I think that's one of the things that has transformed for event planners is all of a sudden, it seems like it's happened overnight, but actually it's been around for a long time. But with the advent of ChatGPT coming into the marketplace, it has become accessible for all of us. And when I say accessible, we've become more aware of it. But it's actually been around for a long time. And if we think about during the pandemic, how we moved to hybrid or virtual meetings, a lot of that was also using AI integration. We just didn't really understand it as much or know that it was really AI tools at the back of it.
All right, next, let's talk about how are your clients integrating AI to personalize event experiences for attendees?
Well, I have to, a full disclosure, I'm not an event planner myself, but we work a lot with associations and the business events industry and the business event suppliers. And so what we're seeing is how AI tools can help with efficiency. And that's really the way it started to move. And if you look at, I was talking to Aranex Group today and getting some ideas from them on how they're using AI. And one of the comments that was made was, if you look at the way social media integrated originally, we originally weren't sure how to integrate social media. Some people were quick adopters, other people a bit slower. And as we started to understand how it could target our audiences, how we could segment our audiences with social media, we became a lot more proficient at it. And we realized that we also needed people who were specialists in social media or digital marketing, or now just marketing, to be able to manage that part of our campaigns. So I think there's some degree. So your question you asked me was, how are we seeing it integrated? I think we're at that a very early stage. We're all a bit nervous about how to use it or where to use it. Certainly for the associations we work with, some are very, very quick to adopt. Others are a little bit slower. But for the meeting planners and the event planners, what we're seeing more often than not is it's used as an efficiency tool. And what I
Hmm.
mean by that is it's helping with marketing campaigns. It's all of the writing that's being supported. So here's my content. How do I sharpen this? How do I make this interesting for scientists who are studying microbiotics and are in their 20s? So starting to make sure that what your campaign, rather than having a scattergun approach, your campaign is really targeted. And so this is, I mean, I heard a really good example as well, which was AI is a really good intern or you're a really good administrator. So it's something that you need to understand how to use efficiently. Not going to take your job, but how do you use it efficiently to increase your efficiency?
Absolutely. That's actually a really good example of, how your clients are integrating AI in their to personalize event experiences, or like you said, while working with associations and so on. Let's take a step back, and I wanted to understand, how can event organizers use AI to support revenue diversification pathways?
Mm, it's a really good question. So we know that event planners and associations are using AI tools for research. And we all know that research is a really critical part in terms of revenue generation or diversification. So one of the ways we use AI is for benchmarking tools. So what I mean by that is, if you're an event planner and you're looking at developing a new conference, for example, or you're looking at developing content around a particular idea, you can ask the AI tools to tell you which conferences already exist in the marketplace or what are the gaps in the marketplace. You really have to understand the right questions to ask and probe so that you can find out the information that's great for you. One of the other things which we're seeing, and just kind of tied into research, is really understanding that business development component, which is a really important part of the revenue generation and the revenue diversification. So, for example, what corporate organisations are currently targeting? Let's go back to the microbiologists again. What corporate organisations are targeting microbiologists and are interested in partnerships with scientists of a certain academic field or what have you? So again, it's really starting to hone in on a particular area, and then you need to be specific. Give me a list of the top 10 companies or the top 10 corporate companies with a turnover of X dollars. Or so then when you've got that list, or you might be not X number of dollars, it might be number of employees. You think about how you can get the AI tools to help extract the right information. Once you have that, great. Give me the websites of those organizations, and so it can give it to you in a format that you can extract. If you take that again a little bit further, there are other AI tools where you can research contacts of different companies, like Lusher is one example. So there are lots of tools that really help with that efficiency element, and that is critical to generating your revenue. So it's a long answer, but the research element is really where the AI tools, I think, getting the right tool will help with that revenue generation.
Absolutely. Instead of you kind of just searching for it on Google and then, going through a couple of blogs that have been published by different providers, you can actually just streamline it to what exactly you're looking for. And AI can kind of wrap that up for you. So that's a great example. Let's move on to the next part, which is really around, as AI is, becoming more prevalent in across industries, actually, not only the events industry. How do you balance the use of technology with maintaining that human touch or connection during events?
That's a fantastic question. And it's interesting because, again, I come back to the comment I made earlier. We're in the learning phases. And I was just at a conference a couple of weeks ago where the opening experience was an AI bot, and it was a doctor who was talking to the audience and did a rap introduction for part of the opening.
Hmm,
Now,
nice.
yeah, it was very clever. It was very funny. Now, what was interesting about that is that it made everybody talk to each other. It got posted on social media and what have you. Now, we're still, as I said, in the early stages of integrating AI. But AI, for example, one of the tools that's available to meeting planners is algorithms based on matchmaking, so business appointments. We've always done business appointments. And so again, it's coming back to how do you use the AI tools for greater efficiency? As humans, we want to connect. We're seeing terms like revenge travel at the moment. We're seeing business events where there's a good program and we know that there's good numbers. I mean, we're seeing some challenges with delegate numbers, don't get me wrong, but when we know that there's good content and good caliber of delegates coming, people want to connect. They want to meet face to face. So I think as humans, that element won't go away, but it's how do we make those connections still serendipitous, but if it's business to business, we're making sure that it's the right match. If we think about some of the trade shows where we have a meeting planner and a supplier, or a buyer and a supplier, and you want to make sure that you use your time efficiently. And so the AI tool then becomes a really strong selling tool for you to demonstrate how your trade show or your business event is going to be a strong matching process for you with the right buyer or the right supplier. And I think that's going to be, one of the great ROI, return on investment outcomes for the people that are attending and also for the people who are putting on that event.
Yeah, wonderful. That's a really good addition to what you were saying earlier as well. Next, we really wanted to talk about what role do you see AI playing in predicting and adapting to trends in attendee behavior, like you just alluded to earlier as well, in terms of delegates not actually attending, but how can this knowledge be utilized to enhance future revenue generation opportunities, or in particular for delegate engagement from these events?
That's a really good question. And I come back to my comments earlier about IBM Watson, which has been around for years, and it's been using data to analyze trends. And again, that's just one example. I also refer back to my comment around digital marketing and social media. We needed to understand how to use that data and how to use that information. So if you're collecting data but you're doing nothing with it, then the AI tools can't do anything either. You still need to, although that might change, but you still need to give it instructions and you still need to give it direction, because otherwise it can just extract a wealth of information with no direct purpose. So looking at, again, you've got the data, and the question you asked me is how is it going to predict trends or support trends? So let's take, for example, a floor plan. People like to see the floor plans changing all the time. That's a very resource intensive activity. With AI tools, you can update the floor plans very quickly and look at previous trend data to show what's the movement of people through a particular exhibition floor. And potentially you could do dynamic pricing based on previous trend data. That's a very clever way to do that. Again, IBM Watson used to look at, booth trends, volumes of people. Heat maps is another way to do that. We do that in outdoor environments, looking at, in festivals and events, looking at how people move. So, knowing where the concession stores need to be, knowing where the retail outlets need to be, knowing where water stations need to be. So not only is it about revenue generation, it's about the visitor enhancement or the visitor experience. And then it's the engagement piece, because not only are you looking at how to get revenue from these people, but you're looking at and from the sponsors or the partners, but you're also looking at how to increase their engagement. And that's particularly important for associations or for product launches and other corporate experiences. So I think it's really important that we understand how we're going to use that information in the end, and that will determine what are the trends that we want to see and understand and unpack, and then how we can use that to go forward. I probably should just add in, if you don't mind, for for today's interview, I asked both ChatGPT and Project Spark that exact question, just to see what it would come up with. And, again, I then said, okay, so it's given me, the standard revenue generation options: on demand, data analysis, personalized marketing. What else did it give me? Data analytics. So then I said, okay, so of that list that you've given me, which ones will generate the most profit? And then you ask more questions. Of those that generate more profit, which ones are better suited to this kind of target audience, or which ones are better suited to this kind of event? Okay, now how will I make that come to fruition? So you really have to again probe. And again, we're still in the early stages of this, but that was just playing in preparation for today.
Yeah, it's good to see that it's actually become, such an important part that of our day-to-day tasks that we do, especially when it comes to content, right? So it's good to hear that you were actually just playing around for this interview preparation as well. That's another use case that you could use, Project Spark or any other generative AI tools for. Lastly, I actually wanted to ask your advice. And what advice would you offer to event professionals who are considering to incorporate generative AI into their workflows for the first time?
It's a great question. And look, I had this question during the pandemic as well around how do we generate revenue from virtual meetings where, we're not interacting face to face, we've got all of this data, but we don't know how to use it. We've got a risk averse organization. That's really often the case with associations or association boards, I should say. So my advice there is play with it. You're not going to break anything. Nothing will blow up. Nothing will
Mm.
go wrong. But what it does is it helps you start to understand the tools, and you'll get to see how it works or how it doesn't work. And Kirat, you made the comment about content. If you're not sure what the right content is for your particular, whether it's a segment or a conference or a theme, then starting to play with some of those themes, putting them into the different AI tools, looking at what video content is out there already, looking at what free content is out there already, and then trying to probe about, okay, well, where's the gap in the marketplace? And where's the gap for my particular audience? And just test it. And then think about, I mean, this all comes down to your timing, right? One of the challenges of why we're not adopting AI is about the resourcing. This takes human resources to do this, and it takes time. So there's that element that we really need to factor in. But I would suggest it's, just play with it on a daily basis, get used to it, and see what works and what doesn't. When I started using ChatGPT in particular, and I've also used Project Spark for an event that we're about to a workshop we're about to deliver. I tested it in both platforms to see which one gave me a better outcome. Obviously, Project Spark is much more event focused, so it gave me a very different outcome. But on other elements which are broader, ChatGPT has given me outcomes that I've preferred. So again, there's a high
Yeah.
volume of tools that can be used. So in short, play with it, test it, and also test it with your audiences. So what I was going to say, sorry, and I jumped, was when I first started using it with social media, I played with different posts to see what resonated and what didn't. But again, my tip is change it and personalize it. So don't take the content that the AI tool gives you and take it as gospel. You need to adjust it. You need to personalize it and really make it your own. Because that again, we can often, not always, but authenticity is a really important part of business events.
Wonderful. That's some really good advice for, event professionals who are getting on that bandwagon and really trying to embrace the changes that are now happening in the events industry as well. But thank you for your time, Diana. This was wonderful. It was great chatting with you. And I'm sure our audience has got some little nuggets to take away as well. Thank
Thank,
you.
thank you so much. Great to be here.